Imagine this. You wake up early, still half asleep, wandering into the kitchen just to boil some water for tea. Your mind is foggy. You barely remember what day it is. And suddenly, right in the corner of your kitchen, you notice a small bag on the floor. Nothing special at first glance. But then you see something pushing from inside. Smooth, thick mushroom caps, firm and shiny, as if they were breathing. Fresh. Alive. And then it hits you. These aren't store mushrooms. These are yours. They grew in your home while you were doing absolutely nothing. No daily care, no complicated setups, no garden, no fancy gear. They just grew. And that moment flips a switch inside you. Because there's something almost magical about seeing real food appear out of nowhere in your own house. The crazy part is that this happens not because you spent hours tending them. Not because you know anything about growing mushrooms. Not because you have a green thumb. It happens because you did one simple action that starts the entire chain reaction. One move, and then nature takes over. That is the reason so many people get hooked on growing mushrooms at home. Not because it's a hobby, not because it's trendy, but because it gives you a weird sense of partnership with nature. You set the stage, and nature performs, and all you do is watch. What surprises people the most is how misunderstood mushrooms are. Say the word mushrooms, and people instantly imagine laboratory jars, sterilized gloves, disinfectants, scientific terms like incubation, colonization, pasteurization. They imagine an environment where one wrong breath ruins everything. But that's a myth created by industrial growers. Home growing is nothing like that. The truth is simple. Mushrooms are forest organisms. They grow on fallen trees, on leaves, on damp soil, surrounded by bacteria, insects, wild animals, and basically everything non-sterile. If they survived millions of years like that, they can handle your kitchen counter just fine. And once you understand the real rules, the whole process becomes almost laughably easy. Home mushroom cultivation is one of the few things where the less you do, the better the result. No lights, no fertilizers, no watering, no soil, no daily care. And the entire success depends on three components: healthy mycelium, a substrate it can eat, and a humid environment. That's it. You could explain the entire method to someone while standing in line at a supermarket. And if they went home and followed it, they'd likely get mushrooms within 2 weeks. Everything starts with the mycelium. Think of it as the seed of the mushroom world, except alive, breathing, and already actively growing. The best kind is grain spawn. It looks like grains of wheat or millet covered in dense white threads. That white network is the fungus itself. When spawn is good, it smells like fresh forest mushrooms. Not sour, not yeasty, not alcoholic, just clean and earthy. The smell tells you more about quality than any label. Good mycelium spreads like wildfire inside the substrate. Bad mycelium either does nothing or grows the wrong things, which you really don't want. Then comes the substrate. You can make it yourself, but if you're just starting, the smartest move is to use a ready-made mix. It's perfectly balanced, it has the right moisture, and it saves you from 99% of beginner mistakes. But even homemade substrate is forgiving. Leaves, straw, hardwood sawdust, even coffee grounds. Anything that's not resinous wood will work. That's because mushrooms aren't picky. They evolved to digest pretty much any plant-based material they can find. So even if you choose the simplest option, it will still work. Once you have mycelium and substrate, everything becomes shockingly straightforward. You take a plastic bag, a regular one, fill it with substrate. Press it lightly to keep shape, but don't turn it into stone. Mycelium needs air pockets to move. Then you add the spawn. And here's the part everyone overthinks. People start imagining surgical masks and sterile tables. Forget all that. You don't need sterile anything. Mushrooms are far tougher than you assume. You simply mix the spawn into the bag. Shake it, squeeze it, massage it from the outside. You won't break anything. Fungi are resilient. And now comes the single step that determines your success. The one that turns the entire bag from a silent brick into a mushroom factory. You take a small knife or scissors and make little cross-shaped cuts in the plastic. That's it. These cuts act like doors. Without them, the mushrooms can never leave the bag. With them, they push through when they're ready. You don't need big openings. Small ones work perfectly. And just like that, the entire process is completed. Everything important is already done. Now all that's left is placing the bag in the right spot. Here's where beginners usually make unnecessary mistakes. They put it on a sunny windowsill thinking mushrooms need light. They treat mushrooms like tomatoes. But mushrooms hate direct sun. Sunlight dries them and overheats the mycelium. You want shade, cool air, no heat, a corner of a room, under a table, in a pantry, on a shaded balcony. Regular room temperature is perfect. If you're comfortable, mushrooms are comfortable too. And then nature takes over completely. Within days, you'll see white patches spreading through the bag. It looks like snow taking over the substrate. This is colonization. The mycelium is waking up and expanding through the entire bag, turning it into one solid block of living tissue. This stage is always exciting because you can literally see the organism growing every day. But your role now is practically non-existent. You don't open the bag, you don't move anything, you don't feed it, you just wait. All you need to do is gently mist the air around the bag. Not the bag itself, not the mushrooms, just the air. A couple tiny sprays morning or evening. You are simply imitating humidity in a forest. Mushrooms don't drink water like plants. They absorb it from moisture in the air. When humidity is right, everything unfolds naturally. Then comes the moment that hooks people forever. Tiny bumps begin forming around the cuts you made earlier. They look like little knots, barely visible at first. But each one is a mushroom, and they grow shockingly fast. Some days you'll see them double in size overnight. Their caps widen, their stems thicken, and the whole cluster becomes heavy and alive. Watching this transformation feels strangely rewarding. It's like you discovered a hidden system that has been waiting for you to activate it. When the mushrooms reach full size, you simply cut them off at the base. The first flush, the first big wave, is usually the most impressive. But the fun part is that the bag is not done. It still has plenty of nutrients, so after a few more days of humidity and rest, it produces a second flush, then sometimes a third. If the mycelium is strong, you can keep harvesting for weeks. And here's the universal reaction people have after the first harvest. They stop and think, seriously? That was it? That's all it took? Why didn't I start earlier? Mushrooms grow on autopilot. They don't demand daily attention. They don't punish you for missing a day. They grow because that's what they're built to do. And the taste of homegrown mushrooms is on another level. Not because it's romantic to grow your own food, but because store mushrooms are bred to survive shipping. Yours are picked fresh. Dense, aromatic, richer in flavor, sometimes even crisp. And once someone experiences that difference, they rarely go back. This is why mushroom growing is exploding among people living in apartments. It doesn't need space. It doesn't need light. It doesn't need equipment. It's almost the perfect urban crop. A kind of low-effort, high-reward food production that fits into any lifestyle. And now that you understand how the entire process works, here's the core idea once again. All the magic depends on one tiny action. Cutting holes in the bag. That single step transforms a sealed block into a living system ready to produce food. Without the holes, mushrooms stay trapped. With them, the bag becomes a little ecosystem doing all the work for you. Everything else is simply waiting and watching. If you want, I can take this further. There are mushroom strains that produce massive clusters. There are mistakes that easily ruin beginner harvests. There are tricks to speed up growth. Ways to read the block by smell. Methods to grow mushrooms without bags at all. If you want a second part covering all of that, just say so. And if you enjoy learning simple, real, practical ways to grow food at home with almost no effort, hit subscribe. There's a lot more coming.